Go ahead, sorry.
So a few things. Number one, the onset of seizures at day of life 1. That's not when Dravet syndrome starts.
Exactly.
Dravet syndrome starts generally after the age of 6 months. And most people, it is usually initially exclusively in the setting of fever, and they are alternating hemiclonic type seizures. So one time they'll come in with fever and the right side's jerking, the next time they come in the left side's jerking, and they tend to present in status multiple times, and they're not having a bunch of, when they do have seizures, it's a real bad long seizure, but then otherwise, in between they're doing okay. Then around age 1, they start developing other types of things, so the myoclonic seizures come, the grand mal, all those others. So it's not that she doesn't have some of the seizure types she ought to have for that, it's that she didn't have really the age of onset was too early.
I mean, it was as soon as she was out of the womb.
But there was a knot in the cord.
So the age of onset was too early. While she may get worse when she gets sick, like anybody with epilepsy gets sick, she doesn't get worse like a kid with Dravet usually gets worse when they get sick.
Exactly.
She had the same kind of thing. Plus, she went periods of time where she actually did really well. Which, if you look at the STX-BP1 kids, they tend to have seizures much earlier in life, and they also do have that kind of course where they have a bunch of things, and then they do well. They have a bunch of things and do well, and like you said, they can have a course that kind of stair steps, or sometimes stays the same.
What's the longest?
And the other thing is because you have the mutation, the SCN1A mutation, right? And yes, you have a history of seizures, right? But again, not a Dravet type history. So I mean, I can't rule it out that it doesn't play some role, which is why I said maybe we should avoid
syndrome.
Maybe we should avoid sodium channel drugs just in case it has any benefit. If it has any role in it, we should just avoid it. But I don't think it is the primary issue. I think the STX-BP1 is more likely to be the primary mutation that causes the problem, because that mutation is de novo, so that wasn't inherited from anybody.
True. And so a lot of people really don't know a whole lot about that too, right? It's really a
not at all. I don't know if I gave you that one article the first time you came. I mean, there's like one decent collection of people with STX-BP1 where they kind of describe how they're doing. Of course, I mean, everybody's different too, They're not all the same, but you start to get some patterns out of those people.
What makes me think about the Dravet and the SCN1 is like her body temperature and that type of stuff.
I mean, I hear you.
So I don't know. Can we call it IRE syndrome?
You can call it whatever you want to.
Dravet syndrome, IRE strand.
I mean, so again, whether that really is Dravet or not, who cares? If you know that hot temperatures or hot baths, well, then don't do that.
Exactly.
I mean, whether we say it's Dravet syndrome or not, I don't think the only time it really matters, because we're talking about doing things we would do in Dravet syndrome anyway. So the only time it really matters is if we were trying to put her into a study, for example, where you have to have Dravet syndrome. I can tell you that I don't think she'd pass.
What for the oh, she didn't already.
Right. She wouldn't make it because the consortium will say no, that's not what it is, because she has the other. So
we've had many different diagnoses about what she has. It's hyperplexia to what was the other one? Kabuki syndrome. We researched that. That was insane. I mean, just because I'm Asian, all right, that's what she's got. Guaranteed. That's exactly what she has.
I don't think that's how it comes back.
Oh, it totally was.
But anyway,
that's all right.
I know she doesn't have Down syndrome. She's Japanese.
So so I mean, we definitely could go back to Amphi. I'm cool with that. I mean, we definitely could try that. I'd rather not go back to topiramate. There are a few reasons for that. One is if we're going to keep the diet in any method at all, putting Topamax increases the risk of kidney stones.
Does it?
And further acidosis.
So Dr. Malik told me that in the hospital.
We prefer not to use it if we can avoid it, because it increases those risks.
What about
also, it has more cognitive side effects to it. So if we're already dealing with a decline.
What about Depakote? Doesn't that affect the keto levels in any way?
No.
No?
So Depakote, fine. And Depakote, from an idea of, could it be Dravet? Well, then Depakote's a preferred drug anyway for that particular syndrome. So
see, it's hard to tell.
Of the things she's on, I would get rid of Banzel, I would think, before Depakote. But obviously, our problem right now is less it's less that and more like what can you get to make the seizures any better.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
and we like the only thing I was saying was we were seeing a better Ivory when she was on Onfi
and we assume because that was a better combination. We may be wrong. It might have been just
a good time.
Better time. Yeah. I don't know.
But it was like years. That's like a couple of years.
Don't you think it's worth a shot?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely reasonable doing, but there's some other things. Okay, so we can talk about CBD in a second. Okay.
Why are you laughing? Did you have some already? No.
This is my life.
I know it is.
I tell you.
I know. I feel sorry for you.
It's mentally exhausting.
When we tell people about Ivory, the first words out of their mouth are, "Why don't you put her on CBD?" And we're going, well, you don't know what's going on with her. If I hear that one word, I almost got mad at her for saying it just now to you. You know.
So the other, some of the other medicines I listed before, Fycompa. So Fycompa is a newer medication. I've had some good results with it for tonic type seizures, which is again one of her primary things she's having. So that's one, and it's not a sodium channel drug, so that's a reason to think about that.
Right.
It's a once a day medicine, given at bedtime.
That's
one we talked about.
Main side effect, we're talking about sleepiness, but it's given at bedtime, so.
So if we give her that, but we can take away clonidine too, because that's what that's for.
You might be able to, yeah. Behavior side effects, like any medicine, can occur. Maybe it occurs a little more with Fycompa than the others.
I'll take a behavioral problem any day over this.
That's a possibility for her.
I'd rather be running around ripping her baby sister's hair out.
Felvital, I think I listed Felvital as one. Felvital is a great drug for very difficult to control epilepsy. So on that aspect, very good. Downside, you got to get labs on it. Of course, you're getting labs already, so it's not a huge difference.
Right.
If you read about Felvital, you'll see that it's used primarily only by epileptologists. Like your general child neurologist is scared to use it because when it first came out, people got aplastic anemia and liver failure on it. And obviously those are bad things because they will kill you.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it only happened in adults. It never happened in kids. And the estimated risk of it actually happening is like 1 in millions.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it is real. It happens, but it's 1 in millions. And if you really look at Depakote, where the risk of liver failure is actually 1 in about 50,000,
it's way higher.
There's a real big difference, right? So people don't use Felvital a lot, but they ought to because it's actually probably a lot safer.
Right.
So, I think that's another good drug for very difficult stuff. Let's see. I think I had.
What's she doing? She having one?
A few others on there.
I don't know. Something. What are you doing, sissy? Say hi, I'm at the doctor. Hi, I'm at the doctor.
Yes, I think those are the two.
How is that?
Those are the two main
trial going?
Which one? Fenfluramine. So fenfluramine trial is closed.
Is it already?
And it was it's been very, very successful. So I'm glad you mentioned that because I was thinking about that as a possibility. We have an upcoming trial of fenfluramine in Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, which I think she could meet the criteria for.
Really?
So Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, you have to have multiple seizure types, which she has the appropriate seizure types. You have to have an EEG at a time in your life, any time in your life, that shows generalized slow spike wave. It's a very particular pattern. So I was trying to look through her old EEGs today to see if anybody made mention of that, because that's just something they'll look for in a trial. And I don't see that where it's been said specifically, but I think if I went and pulled them and looked at them, I could probably say, yes, that's generalized slow spike wave. Because people just say it's generalized, generalized spike wave. They don't make comment of it, but I bet it's out there somewhere if I went back and look at it. So
she's had many.
That might be an option. That trial probably the earliest would open next month. You have to have, to be in it, you would also have to have stable meds for a month prior to being in the study, right? And so I'm not real keen on doing nothing right now and waiting for the study because I feel like you need to do something.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't,
But it's something we could think about if we're not getting anywhere or doing something. Okay. So those are probably the main choices there. So now on the CBD front, so, I can write you a recommendation and you can go to local dispensary and get a CBD from here in the state. What you get, there's a few problems. Problem number one is there's really no control. I got no control over what you get. So you could get a different CBD oil depending on which dispensary you go to.
Right.
Month to month, it could even be different. So
different.
People don't seem to.
Well, it isn't.
So many people don't seem to be like worked up about that, but yet they're so worked up about getting a different generic manufacturer every month of the drug they're already taking.
Right.
Or going from brand to generic. So I'm like, how is it any different? I mean, it's the exact same
thing,
problem,
same,
right?
Exactly.
And in fact, what's even worse is that there's no oversight, so you're not really sure exactly what you're getting in the oil. I know what it says you're getting, but who knows?
And it's made by some random dude.
I mean,
same thing with everything.
Like
the West Pharmacy.
They got a degree. I met the dude. He's done a good job. The guy down in Austin. I mean, he looks like a smart guy.
One for me.
So it's what they're selling now is supposed to be basically almost pure CBD, which is similar to what we did the trials on. Okay, so if you look at it that way and say, all right, it's similar to what we did the trials on, then you can say the average reduction in the types of seizures that she's having, we saw an average reduction of about 40%.
It's not bad.
It's not bad, but it's no better than anything else.
It's like the same as
Number one. Number two, it's not covered by insurance, so you're going to have to pay for it out of pocket. Number three, the dosing that the dispensaries give, that like the concentrations and the amount they dispense is only, they dispense 7.5 and 15 milliliter vials of this, all right? However, for a child of her size, which is, she's 20 kilograms, so that is actually the weight I use to calculate the average cost. So if you weigh 20 kilograms and you got to a dose similar to what we did in the trial, and the lowest dose we used in the trial was 10 milligrams. We used anywhere from 10 to 50 milligrams per kilogram. If you went to the dispensary to get that amount for her, you'd be talking about $1,500 to $2,000 a month.
Jesus.
On average.
I'm good enough.
So,
so I guess the ultimate thing.
So therein lies the problem. So
why
this
isn't insurance paying for it?
Because it's not an FDA approved drug. They're not going to pay for.
Okay.
They're not going to pay for something that's got zero proof that it does anything.
I guess all that aside, what do you think about it? Do you really think? Because I've read about the placebo in that, and that's insane to me. That there was kids that actually were on the placebo who stopped having seizures.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That's what I'm saying. We'll start giving her water and be like, here's your CBD.
You see that in every drug trial will have about a 20-something% placebo rate. And the reason for that is because when you're in a drug trial, it's very regimented. You got to write down everything you do, every dose you give, everything. So people start to become very compliant with their medications. And when they become compliant with their medications, their seizures undoubtedly get better. So
it's true.
It's very common to see improvement in drug trials because people are much more regimented about what they're doing.
That's
insane.
So I think if Epidiolex, which is the drug we studied, was available at the pharmacy later this summer or later this year, which it probably will be when it gets approved, I have no problem using that. I just think it's not worth. I don't think it's worth your money.
I don't think so.
CBD.
Yeah.
Well,
to
go to the dispensary
right now
trying to
get
push it on us.
I put one kid on a week ago, and honestly, I've tried everything under the sun for him. And I said, it's not going to hurt you to try it. But told the family, I was like, just understand the dose we're going to start with is so low. If it doesn't work, we know the doses that do work, but I don't know if you're going to be able to afford it. That's the problem.
So you said around next summer is when the Medicaid will take over?
This summer the FDA is supposed to rule on whether or not they'll approve the drug, which I think they will because all the trials were successful.
Right.
Once they approve, the DEA has 90 days to schedule it. It has to be scheduled before anybody can write a prescription for it.
Of course, yeah.
And
it's
so
like a 2-year process.
Then it goes to your, then it gets out to the pharmacy, and then whether or not it's covered will depend on individual insurances. But it's probably going to be covered for Lennox-Gastaut syndrome and Dravet, which are the things it was tested.
Yeah, the main
things.
Which is most drugs are approved that way, and then ultimately they're used for all kinds of other stuff.
Right.
So I mean, if I were to think about it, I would just put that behind until it's covered. It's just not. It's not. If it was amazing, if it was like fenfluramine, where 70% seizure reduction in that trial, and somehow you could get fenfluramine at a dispensary, I'd say, well, you should do that. That was actually a really successful drug. It's probably worth it.
Right.
But
what about like a cherry on top? Like what about as a cherry on top? Like she's on her medication. Can you use CBD when she's on medication?
Sure.
What's the best ones
so,
to use?
What's that?
What's the best ones?
Charlotte's Web,
there is no answer to what the best ones are because none of them have studies, so there's impossible to compare.
Right, but it affects your liver and all that stuff, so you definitely want to avoid drugs that affect your liver.
Well, there's 2 ones I've read about, the Charlotte's Web and the Hope.
Haley's Hope.
Haley's Hope. They're the 2 most popular ones.
Yeah, Haley's Hope I hear is best, but I don't know.
Zero evidence to suggest one is better than
I know, just personal opinions.
They are both primarily pure CBD. They are dosed at very low doses. I personally have not seen anybody that's used either of those that I think is remarkably better.
Okay.
And I think it's because the dose is probably actually quite low.
Right.
And again, families can't afford to get to the higher doses. It's far too expensive to do it. Yeah. So so yes, you can definitely take it with other stuff. It probably interacts with Depakote. We think that's where the liver enzyme problem comes from. It interacts with ONFI, increases ONFI levels by over 50%. It probably interacts with Keppra and a few other methods.
I don't even want to hear that word.
I hate that.
I don't want to hear that word.
So, we got a couple decisions to make, and well, actually, I think you only have one decision to make because you might want to get off the diet or you might not want to get off the diet. You can figure that out amongst yourselves. However, right now is probably not the time to focus on that because you're trying to get better seizure control. So taking that stuff away is probably not worth it right now.
No,
unfortunately, I think you have to add something to try to get better control. So the question is, what are you going to add?
Right.
You're going to add Fycompa and see if Fycompa works as a medicine that you've never tried before.
Yeah, it's scary, but
maybe you'll get better versus going back to ONFI, which you've done before, and well, we think she was better on it, but she wasn't seizure free. So.
Right.
Honestly, I think we can try the new one, and we can always revert back, right? Like, we can always go back to ONFI and Topramate, right? Like, if she takes this new one, it's not going to subject her to never be able to take ONFI or Topramate.
We can always go back and do whatever we want whenever we want.
Well, I mean, I'm game for new, man. I'm game for new stuff. I'm just here to be the voice for that Depakote and Vansville isn't working. That's the only thing I can think of.
Now, are we going to get the rest away off the Banzel?
I want her off Banzel.
I want her off Banzel bad. I mean, that stuff, it's just, I don't know.
So I don't usually like to do 2 things at once.
Right.
We could add Fycompa and take the Banzel away at the same time. That's against my cardinal rule, but...
Because it can create seizures, right?
Well, no, just because it creates confusion.
Right.
So if she gets a lot worse, did she get worse because you took the Banzel away or because the Fycompa made it worse?
True.
I'm fine with doing one at a time.
I am too.
So then I'd rather add the Fycompa first before taking away the Banzel.
Okay.
I mean, she just sounds like she's so bad off, guys.
I know.
Take away the Banzel and then find out that she's getting worse than that. You know?
I know.
I mean, it won't be that long. She's not on that much, so it won't be
That's
that
what I'm
hard.
saying. We've already got her down to 3. She was on 6, 7, so. What is he doing?
She has like no motor skills at all.
At all anymore. I can't.
She in therapies?
No, they took her out of school.
We had to take her out of therapies because she was doing so good. And then this happened like over a matter of like 3 months, 4 months. She's like deteriorated so quick, and we can't understand it.
But yeah, they
said there was no need for her to go to physical therapy. What was that, 3 months ago or 4 months ago? It was an elective. Like, if y'all think, we were like, no, y'all ain't doing anything. It's like everyone's
giving up on her,
That's the way we feel, is like she's just giving up on. Even her school gave up on her.
I think she needs to be
intensive therapy.
The reason is that where she is now, she's going to get more problems just from not being able to do as much.
Exactly.
So, I'll refer her back to therapy, physical therapy.
Okay.
What did he do to you, huh?
Let's see here. Yeah, she hasn't had any recent labs since she got on the diet, right? Okay, let's get
No, she's been pretty good. Her keto stick, she's still in ketosis. We haven't had no blood sugar problems. I'm pretty spot on this diet thing. I really am right. I've made some amazing meals that are blowing people's minds. Yep, she doesn't have to eat any different than us, really.
Just
That's why I'm not.
portioned.
I was so scared of it, and as soon as I left the hospital, like the first 2 days, I was like panic mode, and after that, I just I hit beast mode, I guess, and I've started making the coolest meals. She gets her Asian food and everything. Nothing different. Gets her root beer floats.
Was tacos and an avocado.
Yeah.
So instead of the shell, you use the avocado. That's pretty good. She liked it.
Okay.
We made a shell out of egg. And she has her fried rice.
Cauliflower rice.
We even have a recipe that has rice in
Tried
it.
that once. I couldn't get with that.
Really?
I tried it.
No,
Consistency
you made
Just-
some
it just
fried rice, and
couldn't
that
do it.
was
Wasn't happy with it.
way
That tastes like
better.
couscous to me.
Couscous.
Has that like gritty, you know, like a hummus.
She doesn't have a problem with it. She's just not a fan of Jell-O anymore. Thank you, the fourth floor. She can't stand Jell-O anymore.
No good, huh?
No, and she doesn't like chocolate
loves
pudding.
Tuna though.
Tuna.
Tuna
Yeah.
is her best friend.
She loves tuna, and the chicken salad is just really saving her on that keto. And the fact that she can eat an avocado like, great.
Kind of grosses me out how much mayonnaise you put in there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
That's
Fat,
bad.
fat.
And
But
even tuna is just
the keto
liquid
diet is,
mayonnaise.
it's not, I don't know. I feel there's nothing wrong with the keto diet. There's nothing at all negative about it besides, the
My only
fat.
juxtaposition is she
But-
doesn't watch TV really. She doesn't care about toys. She doesn't really have a lot of things that she enjoys to
But
do
food.
but food.
Yeah.
And that, from a fat guy, you take away food from somebody, that's insane, man. I couldn't imagine getting to eat Jack in the Box at
I'm gonna
lunch
make
every day.
her peanut butter candy, and she has her ice cream. She's not any different. She doesn't know different.
I
The only
know.
thing that she's really missing out on is cheese, and I've even incorporated 5 Cheetos into her meals.
No, she's missing
Am I
out.
still sending this to Laura's pharmacy?
What do I need to do to change? I've talked to your
All you
nurse
do is
last
Just tell me
time.
where you want me to send
Okay,
it.
Yeah.
go back to Walgreens. Yeah, I told her that we were gonna
Wherever
kind
you
of
tell
wait.
me.
Alright. They have to see, or Laura's has to cooperate with Walgreens. Like,